We promised to lead off with something positive on Locked On Bama today because I don't want to punch a hole in the wall talking about the basketball game again.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama. Luke Robinson, that's me. Jimmy Stein, that's him. This episode is brought to you by Nissan. Okay, then. I see you, Nissan. And we will talk about Nissan here in just a bit. Thank you for making us your first listen every single day. Jimmy, we will get to this basketball game. I promise everybody we're not avoiding it, but we know people love talking football, especially football recruiting. And so I'm going to give you some good news, if you didn't already know it. Antonio Coleman, who I misspelled horribly in this On Today's Show thing right here, and I'll change it while you're talking. Natio. I'll fix that in a minute. He has flipped back from flipping to Auburn from Alabama back to Alabama. Jimmy, make it make sense.
Well, it doesn't have to make sense. It just is to be celebrated that Antonio Coleman is committed to Alabama like he was originally. I think, from a bird's eye view, this is what he wanted to do the whole time. I think he got a little scared off of Alabama at one point. Obviously, there's been a lot of changes at Alabama. There was a lot of changes anticipated. I think, for a while, I think when he flipped to Auburn, there was a lot of talk out there that Ryan Williams was going to Auburn. I think in the end, he wants to play with Ryan. These are really good buddies, and they've been buddies for a while. I think Ryan's a key in this, but I think even a bigger key is Antonio's an Alabama guy, wanted to play for Alabama. So what I love about Antonio Coleman to Alabama is all the boxes this checks in terms of questions about Kalen DeBoer. I mean, for one thing, here's a highly recruited guy. I know he's in state, but this is a highly recruited, highly regarded guy. Anyone would be excited to get, whether you're Georgia, LSU, Auburn, Texas. I mean, Antonio Coleman could sign with virtually anyone, and he's highly regarded. He's going to help recruiting rankings if you're into that sort of stuff. Secondly, he's in state. Me and Luke have continually made it a point. We would love to see Alabama maybe more active in state under DeBoer than they were under Saban. And here's an in-state kid, again, playing a critical position, defensive line. I mean, it's hard to pick out another position that's more important recruiting-wise, maybe quarterback, and that's it. So he's a defensive lineman. He's in state. He's highly recruited. And he's from Saraland. And let me tell you, he won't be the last kid from Saraland that Kalen DeBoer is going to want to sign through the years, through the cycles. Saraland's loaded up again with 9th and 10th graders that most of y'all haven't heard of, that y'all will be hearing of this upcoming football season, when a new wave of young, talented kids get in that lineup. Saraland's as talented, frankly, as any program in Alabama right now. So you keep the Saraland pipeline going. So, and you take one from Auburn. There's another plus. You're taking a highly recruited kid off their list and onto the Alabama list. So this is a really big deal because of how many boxes that we got to check here. And in the end, it's just a talented kid that's going to play defense for Alabama.
Yeah, and here's the thing that's great, and you're right. I think this is a great point, that the biggest winner in all this is Kalen DeBoer. We never we kind of quit giving Nick Saban his flowers in terms of winning. We would just talk about how great it was for the team. We never really probably properly thanked Nick Saban enough for just landing dude after dude after dude. And when you get somebody like Antonio Coleman, we're like, oh, okay, Nick Saban got Antonio Coleman. Okay, kudos. Not a big whoop. But this is a huge moment for Kalen DeBoer, because this is a guy that was committed to Alabama. He flipped to Auburn, which made it seem like the ship was sinking. No doubt about it. I mean, all over Twitter, when he flipped, everybody was like, well, this is a sign of things to come. This is the, apocalypse. Alabama's doomed. This is going to happen a lot more often now. There'll be meh from now on. And he had Antonio Coleman, again, to his credit, had been putting things out there like War Eagle and et cetera, making it seem like he was still pretty solid to Auburn. Now, you and I, to our credit, continually said this isn't over. And especially you were like, hey, I think he could flip back to Alabama pretty easily. And in this new age of recruiting, I'll put this caveat. He could flip again. I don't think he will. I don't think so. Because I think like you, Jimmy, he wanted to be at Alabama the whole time. But recruiting is different now than it's ever been before.
Yes.
So don't ever be surprised. You shouldn't have been surprised at recruiting before. Now you should never, ever be surprised about anything in recruiting, ever about anything recruiting-wise when it comes to surprises.
It's the number one mistake I see fans make out there right now is applying the old recruiting rules to this new world. And all of those old rules are out. This is a brand new start over deal that's a little bit more like NFL free agency than old college style recruiting. It's sort of in reality a mix of both. But all those old rules are out. People just have to learn to flush that and start over again. And Luke's exactly right. You know, I would predict that Antonio Coleman's sticking with this Alabama commitment because I think that's where he really wants to go. But is this over? It's never over anymore. It used to not be over. Now it's really not over. And we'll have to see all the way till December. But
I think we should say this. We should say this one
Alabama,
seems to be. Am I on mute? No, okay. I got a shirt to remind me I'm not on mute. Or I am on mute. I think we're safe in saying this. This one is as over as a verbal commitment can be in this climate. Now, that is not an assurance. That is like, you know, when people tell you, when you hear a commercial on the radio, hey, I want you to invest in this new, you know, real estate thing we got going, and all you got to do is contact this number. And at the end they go, please realize that real estate can carry risks. What they're really saying is, there's a chance you could lose everything because we're trying to screw you real hard right here. And if we do, it's not our fault because we told you so. So I feel like this one is as over, though, as a verbal commitment can be in this day and time. And here's the other thing I love, Jimmy, that, you know, all the Kalen DeBoer detractors. And again, I'm not singing the man's praises yet. He hadn't peed a drop at Alabama yet. We got to wait and see a coach of a few games. But the people that have been saying, oh, Kalen DeBoer can't recruit, you know, his mama to his funeral, you know, things like that. Well, that's a good line. I should use that. You couldn't recruit your mama to your own funeral, you know, to see your son. Anyway, that seems morbid now. I won't
That's a bad recruiter.
But
Larry David's mother did not go to his. No, Larry didn't go to his mother's funeral.
That's right.
Okay,
that's right.
He didn't know she died. Dad didn't tell him. Didn't want to upset him.
Right. So, Auburn folks specifically were saying he was done and Alabama's done, and they were laughing. Oh, they were laughing at Alabama's ranking in the 40s of the On3 rankings just the other day, and Auburn was number 7 and all was right with the world. Well, I just looked it up because I've been busy as a one-arm paper hanger here recently. Alabama's moved to number 9 in the rankings. And because Auburn, not only did Alabama gain Antonio Coleman, Auburn loses him, Auburn's moved back to number 11. So there is some funny irony in there that I'm enjoying.
It just shows a perfect example of why, even though it looks good for Alabama today, it's just so silly to pay attention to that.
So we don't need to laugh too hard because it could change tomorrow.
Oh, it's just too early. It's like deciding the game it's a football game and you're deciding the game is over with 12 minutes left on the first quarter clock. I mean, there's a lot of football left.
All right, Jimmy, we've got to talk about this basketball game, but I don't want to. I'm going to have to talk about it, though. Y'all know we're going to have to talk about it. But right now I want to tell everybody about Nissan. Look, are you the kind of driver that likes to push things a little further? Ever wonder what adventure could be around the next corner? Our friends at Nissan have a lineup of SUVs with the capabilities to take your adventure to the next level. Not this level, the next level. The 2024 Nissan Rogue is perfect for city drives and great escapes. Class exclusive Google built-in is your always updating assistant to call on almost anything. You can call on this Google Assistant for whatever you want. Gone are the days of connecting your phone. Google Assistant, Google Maps, and Google Play Store are built right in to the 12.3-inch high-definition touchscreen infotainment system. That's right,
amazing.
infotainment.
That's really amazing.
The 2024 Rogue is the perfect midsize crossover for your next adventure. You will love it. And then there's the 24 Pathfinder, has room for up to 8, an expansive cargo capacity, and an advanced available 4x4 capability with 284 horsepower and up to 6,000 pounds of towing. When adventure calls, the Pathfinder is there to answer. And then there's the 24 Nissan Armada. Will change what you expect from a full-size SUV. Picture a rugged 4x4 that can seat up to 8 in first-class luxury and style, tow bigger, and explore further in the 2024 Armada. Take the Nissan Rogue, Pathfinder, or Armada and go on your next big adventure. Shop Nissan USA. Hey. All right.
Do we get free Nissans?
Huh?
Will we get a free Nissan?
I'm pretty sure so. Look in your driveway. Mine's here. But anyway,
we got the build bars.
That would be kind of cool. Thank you, Locked On. Thank you, Nissan. So basketball wise, Jimmy, I was calling the 7A state championship game, which we'll talk about in the third segment. So I didn't get to see the whole thing. I did have the game on my laptop while I was calling the game, so I probably screwed up a few times. But Hoover blew out Enterprise, so it was easy to keep an eye on both games. Alabama loses. It's not heartbreaking. It's not terrible because, frankly, I mean, we've overachieved this year. I'm not trying to tamp down expectations. I learned that word from Jimmy. I'm not trying to say this wasn't a big deal. I'm going to call a spade, y'all. Tennessee's better than we are. They're a better team than we are. Now, it doesn't mean we cannot beat them. We can beat Tennessee. We're going to have to shoot a hell of a lot better than we shot. With 44 seconds left, Mark Sears had a look. It wasn't a good look at a three-pointer. And instead of maybe trying to work it around for a better shot, we took it and we missed. And that's us. That we're going to be who we are. I can live with that. Yes, it's going to suck. We're not going to win the league. We're not going to win the league. And in fact, even if we tie for the league, we all know we tied Tennessee and they beat us twice. So they kind of deserve it, right? I know that's not the way the SEC regular season works. I'm not as mad about this as I thought I would be. I thought I'd be kind of really down about it. I'm not. I'm fine. What's crucial to me is to make sure we still get the double bye and can get some rest and still have a nice performance in the SEC tournament. But now it's all come down to March for me. I'm not as even worried about winning the SEC tournament. That's fine. We're in the tournament. So part of me is almost like, I kind of want the rest. I mean, I hate feeling that way, but that's me, Jimmy. And it's not just because we lost. Tennessee is better than us. I want to say this over and over again. I don't want us to send any tape into the SEC office. I don't want to complain about the officiating. I don't want to complain about Nate Oates coaching. He coached the same way he always coaches. This is what we are. So don't be mad at him because he didn't do one little thing here or there. This is Nate Oates, and we're always going to be in the middle of this thing as long as we have him. He's recruiting gangbusters. So I've talked myself even from coming close to the ledge, Jimmy.
Yeah, there's no reason to. I mean, you have to go back to before the season started, and the media that knows this league best, the league media. They picked Tennessee to win the league. They looked at, okay, who's on everyone's roster? Who should win this league? And the media said Tennessee should win the league. They're the best. They look like the best team. And they are. Give Tennessee credit for living up to some pretty high expectations. As a matter of fact, I said walking out of the Coliseum last night, I'm like, I want to thank Tennessee for making it a little easier to fill out my bracket because I was pretty convinced I was going to have UConn and Houston in my Final Four, but I wasn't sure about the other two. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm putting Tennessee in. I think they're a really good team. They play really well on both ends of the floor. They got a superstar in Dalton Connect. We did a good job on Connect last night because Rylan Griffin's a really underrated defender. I think when Griffin in particular was on Connect, he sort of shut him down. But Tennessee's got other weapons, and Ziegler really hurt us last night, the little tiny point guard with the great shot. Ziegler was tough on us. They rebound exceptionally well. They got just athletes inside, and Vescovi's a good guard, and that's just a good team. And I think Alabama's good, real good. I think Alabama may be one of the best 16 teams, which is incredible considering what Alabama lost from last season. But I think Tennessee might be one of the best 4 teams. And I'm with Luke 1,000,000%. I think we're just not quite as good. We can beat them. I think we proved throughout the game we could beat them. What stinks about last night, if you want to be mad and throw things, is we probably played our worst basketball of the game in about the last 6 minutes. I mean,
it was awful.
We didn't play well in those last 6 minutes. That's disappointing considering all that was on the line. But give Tennessee credit for that. I mean, Tennessee, they notched it up, at the end. They were playing their best when it counted, which is what you would expect from a veteran team on the road in a really tough environment. Tennessee proved a lot last night.
And Jimmy, our true freshman, who should be a senior in high school, granted he's been in the SEC a while now, that you can't really say that anymore, but it's still true. He missed 2 big free throws, I thought, in the game at a crucial time that really hurt us. Now, I was listening to that part on the radio because I was coming back from the BJCC at the time, and I was thinking, oh, God, I hope this doesn't come back to hurt us. I mean, it felt like those were momentum. I mean, when he missed the first one, we were like, oh, okay, well, at least he'll get one. And then he missed both. And, I mean, it felt like you could feel the air come out of Chris Stewart, Brian Passing, the crowd, everybody. They were like, dang, here they come. And all of a sudden, they've got guys like Zakai Ziegler, who's been at Tennessee since, I don't know, Tony Robinson was quarterback. And he's just, making big-time shots. And we did a great job on Connect. And then we get I think they, Grant Nelson, I mean, maybe some of those fouls shouldn't have been called or whatever, but that crew was going to call fouls. You just got to be careful. You got to know the officials you're dealing with. I'm not blaming the officials. I'm saying some officials call things differently. And once you figure out what they're going to call, you got to be as careful as you can be. And I feel like Grant put himself in some bad positions, maybe. Again, not blaming it all on him. I wish he hadn't fouled out. If he doesn't foul out, I feel better about it. But in the end, Tennessee is better than we are. The same way that, Mercer beat Duke very famously in the NCAA tournament, right? If they play 100 times, Duke's going to win 98 of those. It just happened to be one of those two. I think if extrapolating that, I would say if Alabama and Tennessee play 10 times, Alabama's going to win 3. Now, I agree. Does that mean that, hey, we can beat Tennessee anytime? It means that on average, Tennessee's better than us this year. They just are. They're better than everybody in the SEC this year. It doesn't mean they can't lose at home to South Carolina because they did it. Doesn't mean they can't lose at Mississippi State because they did. We won at Mississippi State. We beat South Carolina at home. They couldn't. But if they play them enough, and they're just like the Yankees will lose to the, I don't know, give me a sucky baseball team, Jimmy. I don't know. One of the Bears. I don't know baseball.
The A's.
The Yankees will lose to the A's at some point this year. And you're like, hell, how does that happen? And it's because it's baseball. You play a lot of games, and sometimes weird stuff happens.
Braves finished with the best record in Major League Baseball last year, and they lost 2 of 3 to the A's.
Right, and we aren't the A's. I'm not trying to say that. I'm just saying that we also aren't Tennessee this year. Yeah. It doesn't mean we can't go on a run in the tournament. We very well could. If we're hot, we're as good as any team in the country.
I think if Alabama maxes out their potential, like as good as this team could do, is probably winning a Sweet 16 game. That's probably about, wow, that's incredible. But based on the lineup, the roster, winning a Sweet 16 game, I think would be an incredible achievement for this bunch.
If this team,
if Tennessee's incredible achievement, getting to the Final Four and maybe winning in a semifinal. I don't know they're good enough to win it all, but that's what I mean by Tennessee's better. I mean, their ceiling is higher. They're just a little bit better. Alabama, I think, can be as good as Tennessee next year, depending on who returns.
No, I totally agree. Okay, Jimmy, when we come back, I want to talk about some thoughts from the AHSAA tournament, and Alabama fans are going to want to hear this. Got to tell you about FanDuel, though. FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's where you want to go. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. With any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins, if I wasn't clear before. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets or live same-game parlays. Exclusive props for games, teams, players, all this stuff, and much, 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 much more. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. All one word for locked on, LOCKEDON, and shoot your shot today. FanDuel is an official partner of the NBA. All right. AHSAA. Gosh, I hope some of y'all made it out there. First of all, wanted to mention Trey Simpson from Hillcrest, Evergreen. I didn't get to see this game, so I wasn't calling this game. I was actually in New York, Watertown, New York at the time, but not trying to brag. But he had a triple-double where I think he had 25 points, 23 rebounds, and 15 blocks.
That's pretty good.
That's insanity. I've done a lot of these, and it is arguably the most dominating performance I've ever heard of from an individual in these games. Now, Marquez Webb, daughter of Marcus Webb, who played for Alabama, played for Brubaker Tech and won a title, I think, in 2010. And she was so dominant. I mean, she was like Marcus Webb. She just bowled over people, knocked them around. Just as she played at Vanderbilt, she did great. She averaged like 25 points and 22 rebounds in the tournament. It's something ridiculous. And anyway, this guy may have overtaken that. And he's only a junior. He is not being recruited by anybody. And then his coach very famously said, or maybe it was the opposite coach. One of the coaches had a comment, said, man, Nate Oates or the Auburn coach should be recruiting this guy. And I thought that was very funny.
Couldn't come up with Bruce Pearl. He's not famous enough.
Pretty funny. All right. But yesterday, and I'm going to go backwards because the player we all want to talk about, I'm going to save for last. Hoover played Enterprise. Enterprise has Eric Winters on the team. Really impressed with him as a football player on the basketball court. Quick hops, angry, aggressive, fearless, strong. He tried to push around Dwayne Brown, who's about 260 pounds and 6'9" for Hoover. He didn't get to move him much because Dwayne Brown is just a monster of a human being, but he was not scared at all. He had some massive dunks, Eric Winters did. Salim London for Hoover, the son of Tariq London, you may remember. Good player. I like him a lot. Lefty, can hang in the air for a long time. Actually, I think he may have had a dunk yesterday too. Hit some threes, made the all-tournament team, played really well yet, led Hoover in scoring yesterday as they blow out Enterprise. Like him a lot. Quicker than you think. I think he's a better player than his dad. And there's some people out there going, okay, good. Because, Tariq was – he was a nice player for Alabama. He's not legendary. He was a nice player. I'm not saying that to be mean. I mean, I'm just saying that I can't just say Tariq London was a legend at Alabama. He wasn't. He was fine. He wasn't going to make any all tournament teams, but Tariq London every now and again would do something pretty awesome. And Salim London, I think, is better than his dad. Dwayne
Brown,
junior, yeah. And Dwayne Brown, also a junior for Hoover. Hoover's the only team in the state. I think they got two dudes. One is a 6'9" junior, 260. One is probably a 6'9", 270 sophomore. I mean, I can't even remember his name. Stevenson, I can't remember his name. They all run together now. And he's uncoordinated, the sophomore is. You can tell like he's got some work to do.
It's growing into his
My
body.
God, Gertie, how are you going to deal with those guys? And then you have Salim London. You have some other guards that are ridiculously good too. Hoover just – blows by him.
It's like that LSU team that had Shaq and Stanley Roberts.
Roberts. Oh man, I can remember that whole team. I used to be able to rattle off
Chris
that
Jackson,
whole team. Maurice Williamson, Chris
Dale
Jackson,
Brown.
and then who was the other?
Dale Brown not win an NBA championship with that group.
Vernell
He
Singleton
was good too.
Yeah,
they should have won an NBA championship, much less the Final Four.
But Dwayne Brown offers from Mississippi State, Bama, Tennessee, Auburn, can step out and shoot the three. I'd rather he not do it, but he can do it. He's got some growing. His legs from his waist down, he looks like an NBA player. From his waist up, he looks like a junior in high school. If he's going to get some workout in the upper body, and then he's going to be a problem. I'm
how would you
totally
say
good with Alabama signing he or London.
Yeah, how would you say about Dwayne Brown? I'm real interested in him being such a massive guy. How would you say he runs the floor?
Very well. He ended up being the MVP of the tournament. He ran much better than I thought he would. He's got better hops than you think he does. There were a couple of alley-oops, like at least one of them where the announcer and I was the color guy at the time, and we thought, oh, that pass is too high. And then he somehow goes and gets it. And I don't know if it was because he leaps high or because his wingspan is more impressive. It may have been a combination. But I like Dwayne Brown. I would definitely take him on Alabama's team. If Alabama wants to recruit him, I'm down with it. Same with Salim London. And then they have another kid on that team, Torbor. And I was like, that name sounds very familiar. And of course, his dad is Reggie Torbor, who played at Auburn from Louisiana way back when. Tommy Tuberville committed him. And in fact, he's probably the definition of a Tommy Tuberville diamond in the rough guy that turned out to be a good NFL player. And his son came in late, but he's a big dude. And I don't think he is going to be, his future is going to be in basketball. It's probably going to be in football, but he's not bad. I was impressed with what I saw. I didn't see much, but then finally, Caleb Holt and Buckhorn against Mountain Brook. I've done these, I think, for 17 years now, and I've seen a lot of craziness. I called a game between Pickens County and Houston Academy that went into triple overtime, ended up with Houston Academy only playing with 4 guys on the court because everybody else fouled out. If one more guy had fouled out, they would have forfeited the game because you can't play with 3 at the time. I don't know if you can now. And Pickens County hits a buzzer beater on a stolen inbounds pass to win the game. Wow. So that was crazy. I mean, that was the last game of the night. I remember, like, 'cause I didn't get home till midnight or something, bananas. And, but this game may have topped it. Mountain Brook against Buckhorn. Mountain Brook, they've got Ty Davis, who's committed to Creighton. He's a nice player. He's nice. I wanted to sign him last year at Alabama because I thought he played better last year. This particular game was not his best game. I mean, I think he'd go on record as saying that he missed some crucial free throws down the stretch when it got tight. And in fact, so Caleb Holt blocks Ty Davis's shot. I thought it was as clean as it could possibly be. The ref called it a foul. That was Caleb's 4th. Caleb also was dealing with some kind of groin injury during the whole thing. You could tell he was limping. You could tell the way he was limping what the injury was. It was a problem. But he was still dominating, just absolutely dominating. You could tell he's the best player. It's not close. It's like he's out there just sort of screwing around and his groins bother him, so he was limping a lot. But when every now and again he'd be like, okay, hurt or no hurt, I'm going to score right here, and he'd go score. Well, he blocks Ty Davis's shot, as I said. They call the foul. He shoots the free throws. Then not long after that, Caleb Holt gets a steal. He's dribbling down the court. You can tell his injury affected him. He loses control of the ball, tries to flip it ahead, gets stolen by Ty Davis, and pure instinct, Caleb Holt just trying to reach for the ball, sticks his hand out. Davis's face runs into his forearm. That it was not nothing malicious. It's clearly a foul. So they called the foul, and he's fouled out before overtime. Oh. We get to overtime because Ty Davis missed a free throw, and then Mountain Brook couldn't get another shot to go, et cetera, et cetera. And we all think that, this sucks. It's an overtime game. It would be so much better. I don't care who wins. I don't. I live in Mountain Brook, but I love Caleb Holt. I don't care who wins. I like Ty Davis. I like the coaching staff at Mountain Brook. Got a lot more ties there, but I don't care who wins. I'm just there for the fun, calling the game. And they go to overtime. We're thinking, this sucks. Caleb Holt's not going to be in overtime. Clearly, Mountain Brook is going to win this contest. A kid named Fred Derrick, who had really done well for Buckhorn during both games, played really nicely. He's not on Caleb Holt's level. Nobody is. That's not fair to even compare it. But he's good. He's a good player. He makes a steal with no time left on the clock as a Mountain Brook player is going up for a shot. This kid named Romero, who also had a good game, he played well. He's going up for a shot. Fred Derrick comes out of nowhere with speed I didn't anticipate, steals the ball as the layup is about to be brought up to be shot. And if he makes the layup, Mountain Brook wins. It's a 1-point game. And Fred Derrick steals it. It was an amazing play. By the way, I should also say, at the end of the initial game, Buckhorn gets the shot, misses it. They tapped it in. Everybody goes bananas. The referee counts it. I said it didn't count. The referee counts it. They go to review. I didn't even know you reviewed in high school. That's something they do just for the championship games. And they review it. I've never seen one. I've called them all these years, never seen one. The ball is on the very tippy tip of his fingertip. And so it's no good as the light is shining. You see the light in the background. Well, Fred Derrick obviously makes all tournament team. Caleb Holt obviously makes all tournament team. In the first game he played, he had 0 points in the first quarter and ended up with 37. That's pretty good.
That is pretty good.
Caleb Holt's the MVP. And I'd been saying, man, I kind of think they should give this to Fred Derrick. And my cohort, Corey LeBounty, from down in the Mobile area, he says, Luke, You remember what Trent Seaborn did for Thompson? They gave him the MVP of the state championship, and he gave it to a teammate. That'd be kind of cool. And there's no way Caleb Holt hurt us. But Caleb Holt goes out there, they announce him the MVP. He grabs Fred Derrick's jersey and basically drags him. Says, "You're coming with me to get the," or I'm not going.
That's leadership right there.
It was chilling. It was unbelievable. It was just a fantastic move. And at the end of the game, oh shoot, I got a picture with him. When you talk about Caleb Holt for a minute. I want to talk about after the game. Both of them talked, and it was just, man, what a team. I mean, they'll all be back. Well, not all of them, but most of them will be back, and most of Mountain will be back. Now they'll lose Ty Davis. They'll lose Ty Davis going to Creighton, and he's their best player. There's no doubt about it. But they got some other dudes.
Coach's son, right?
Is the coach's son, and then he's got a brother who's a 10th grader who, frankly, for this particular game, probably played better minute for minute. His brother's a good shooter. Now, Ty Davis is a good shooter, too. He just didn't have his best game. It happens. It happens. I'm not.
Basketball.
Yes, basketball. Again, Alabama didn't have its best game yesterday. It happens. So, Jimmy, talk about Caleb Holt for a second, because I got to show you this picture.
Yeah, Caleb Holt, one of the best 10th grade basketball players in the country. I think there's rumors of a reclassification, which is a very commonplace now with the top players in both football and basketball. For those who want to know, why is reclassifying turning into the rage? Well, what's the answer to every strange thing now in college sports? NIL. That's right. It's a race to get to the NIL money. So kids are wanting to graduate from high school early so they can cash in, to be honest. So is Caleb going to reclassify? I don't know. I just know there's rumors, and he's a very elite 10th grader. Yes, he's in state. That gives Alabama an opportunity. You can see Caleb there. Luke's tall, so Caleb's taller.
I'm 6'5". Caleb is wearing a hat, but he's clearly taller than me. And for some reason, I mean, I look like I'm holding in a burp or something. I don't know why.
Are you?
I might have been.
Well, you look like a proud dad. It's not your son, right?
It could be. I have lots of them.
That is true. It's hard to track.
I'm going to get him tested just to be sure.
It's hard to track. You need to put one of those Apple, what do they call those little Apple trackers?
The
on all the kids. So you can keep track of not where they are, but who they are.
That's great. That's a great idea.
But Caleb Holt, Alabama's got a great shot because he's in state. But hey, what did I say to start the show? Throw out all the old rules. Under the old rules in recruiting, Caleb Holt's an in-state guy, and you're like, well, he could leave and go to Kentucky or North Carolina or Kansas, but Alabama used to be pretty good about signing the top in-state guy no matter how highly recruited he was. Well, welcome to NIL. I don't know how realistic it is, that you're going to sign a Caleb Holt when every single college basketball program in the country is backing up the Brinks truck, to be honest. So I think there's less of a chance than there would have been, let's say, 10 years ago. But there is a real chance because Alabama is an elite program. And guess what? Alabama recruits alongside the elite programs in the sport. So there's a real chance there. But gosh, it's hard in this NIL era to be super optimistic about any one particular kid, even if he is in state.
All right, we've already run over, so that'll do it for today. We'll catch up with you guys next time. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.